two roster decisions the Raiders just made are quietly telling us something the coaching staff isn't saying out loud. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why one rookie on this Raiders roster could either save the secondary or set the whole rebuild back a full year. Before we dive in, smash that subscribe button if you want the fastest NFL updates on the planet. Here's the thing about training camp. The big signings get all the headlines, but it's the small, quiet moves that actually tell you where a coaching staff's head is at. And what the Raiders just did fits that description perfectly. The Raiders locked in 3 new names this week: defensive end Patrick Johnson, linebacker Buddy Johnson, and wide receiver Devin Tompkins. At the same time, they cut loose wide receiver Jonathan Brady, linebacker Chris Thomas, and defensive tackle Lockett Taxi. On paper, that sounds like routine roster shuffling. But dig a little deeper, and you start to see the plan. Let's start with Patrick Johnson, because this one might be sneaky important. He's heading into his 6th NFL season, coming off a year with the Philadelphia Eagles. Last season he played in 9 games, picked up 3 tackles, 1 sack, 2 quarterback hits, 1 tackle for loss, and chipped in 5 special teams tackles. Across his whole career with the Eagles and a short run with the Giants, he's suited up for 70 games. His totals sit at 14 tackles, 1 sack, 6 quarterback hits, 2 tackles for loss, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. Now here's why the numbers don't tell the full story. Teams keep this guy around because he does the dirty work. Special teams. Rotational pass rush. The stuff that doesn't trend on social media but wins you games in November and December when your starters are banged up. And don't forget his college tape at Tulane, where he led the entire country with 10 sacks his senior year and walked away as the school's all-time sack king with 24.5. That kind of motor doesn't just disappear. Next, linebacker Buddy Johnson. Drafted by the Steelers back in 2021, he's bounced through Pittsburgh, Dallas, and Indianapolis, and now lands in Vegas for year 5. His defensive stat line is modest, 4 tackles and 1 tackle for loss for his career, but where he's actually made his mark is special teams, where he's stacked up 23 tackles. Last year he started on Dallas's practice squad, got a 1-game bump to the active roster, then signed with the Colts in Week 5 and played in 12 games. Nobody's just handing him a roster spot. He's got to earn it, plain and simple. And back at Texas A&M, it's easy to see why teams keep giving him chances: 86 tackles, 8.5 for loss, 2 forced fumbles, for sacks, and a nod as a Butkus Award semifinalist in his final season. Now who's ready for a rhetorical question? If special teams battles decide who makes an NFL roster, why do we still act shocked when a no-name signing sticks around all season? The third name, receiver Devin Tompkins, might be the sneakiest interesting of the bunch. He came into the league undrafted with Tampa Bay back in 2022, then passed through Carolina and Atlanta before landing here. As a receiver, his numbers are modest: 29 catches for 162 yards and a touchdown, plus 13 carries for 94 yards. But the real reason he could stick is what he does on returns. He's brought back 42 punts for 368 yards and 45 kickoffs for over 1,000 yards in his career. If you've watched this team the last few seasons, you know explosive return play has been missing. Back at Utah State in 2021, he was a problem, setting school records with 102 catches and over 1,700 receiving yards in a single season. If even a fraction of that explosiveness shows up on special teams, he's carved out a role. But wait until you hear what's coming with the rookies, because this next part might matter even more for the future of this franchise. Every single one of the Raiders' 10 draft picks walks into camp with a giant question mark hanging over their head, and how each one answers it could shape this team for years. Start with the quarterback, Fernando Mendoza. Kirk Cousins is holding down the starting job for now, which buys Mendoza time. But camp is where we find out if he can actually process an NFL speed defense and pick up the new offense on the fly. Safety Tyree Stokes is being built as a chess piece, someone who can line up all over the field. The question is simply how many roles he can handle at once. Defensive end Kelvin Crawford has all the physical tools in the world, but beating college tackles and beating NFL tackles are 2 completely different jobs. Camp will show whether his get-off translates. Offensive lineman Trey Zune III might be one of the most fascinating case studies here. He can play any spot on the line, but with the starting jobs mostly locked up, his path is about proving he's the most valuable backup on the roster. Then there's cornerback Darian Porter, arguably the biggest wildcard in the whole class. Talent-wise, some evaluators had him going in round 1. Injury concerns dropped him all the way to round 4, and teams, including the Raiders themselves, passed on him multiple times before finally pulling the trigger. He hasn't played a full season in over a year. If he's healthy, he could speed up the entire secondary rebuild. If not, this could take a full year to play out. Running back Ashton Jeanty is set up to carry the load, but the fourth-round back behind him, Dylan Sampson, still has a role to figure out. With Chip Kelly and the running backs coach reportedly planning a two-back attack similar to a Christian McCaffrey setup, camp will tell us exactly how big that role gets. Safety Jonah Ellis faces his own version of that question. Will his rookie impact come on defense, or will special teams be his fastest way onto the field? Cornerback Xavier Watts has a real shot, since the room is still wide open. If he shows out consistently, he could climb the depth chart faster than people expect. Wide receiver Jack Beck could turn into a return specialist immediately, even if his receiving role takes longer to develop. This team has been hunting for a game breaker in the return game for years, and his speed alone gives him a shot. And finally, defensive tackle Caleb Rogers, a late-round pick facing the toughest road of anyone here. The Raiders' defensive line is deep and talented, so standing out won't be easy. If he can lock down one specific job, whether that's run defense or special teams, he's got a real chance to stick. Alright, here's your comment challenge. Out of every name we just covered, who's the one player you think surprises everyone this camp? Drop that name below. I want to see Raider Nation's picks. Step back and look at both of these stories together, and the pattern is obvious. This front office isn't sitting still. They're hunting for depth, competition, and players who fit the culture this coaching staff is building. At the same time, this rookie class represents the next few years of this franchise. Every practice from here on out matters. Every rep matters. Veterans are fighting to keep their jobs, and rookies are fighting to prove they belong. We're about to find out which of these names becomes a real story, and which ones fade into camp bodies. As always, thanks for riding with us, and until next time, go Raiders.